week of tight ends, Mariah Carey here on Fantasy Football 101. All right, I'm telling you, I love being in charge. Turn it down before Eric starts singing.
I will. I will too. And I don't know the words, so it'll be weird.
Oh, you all know the words.
I know dude don't.
Okay, I need to get focused here.
All right.
Before the break, I said a handful of tight ends coming back, and yeah, I don't know. Sorry, we're just having fun. It's the last show. It's the last show. We appreciate everyone listening to Fantasy Football 101 this season here on Sports Radio 1450. We'll be back with you next season, so don't worry about that. And always streaming live on the webpage at sportsradio1450.com, where you can check all the injury updates. Let's run through those, though, as we were talking about tight ends before the break. Let's do that real quick. Kellen Winslow, questionable this week. Again, Shockey out, and Jason Witten is probable. Any other big names out there, Mark?
I think you've got him as far as tight ends go.
Is Winslow going to play, though, or is it...
No, he missed practice again.
Is that a very questionable?
Yeah, not expected to play, I've got.
All right, and Witten, though, should be good to go.
Yeah.
For you guys that are still alive this week. A lot of injuries again at running back this week, and some big names, too. Marshawn Lynch, questionable, and they have a pretty big game this week.
Yeah, Marshawn Lynch is highly questionable, so Fred Jackson will be the replacement there, and he's been getting the job done the last couple of weeks, so that's not a bad play.
And we've been talking about resting players for the Colts, but they also they're going to be shy two running backs, not just because of rest, because of injury, though.
Well, yeah, Dominic Rhodes is out with a chest injury. Chad Simpson's questionable, highly questionable with ankle injury. He missed practice Friday. Joseph Adai practiced week, but he's not going to play. So it looks like the starter for the Indianapolis Colts at running back is going to be Najee Davenport, who they just signed a couple weeks ago.
Going to have to plug him in.
Oh,
Super Bowl.
Najee Davenport. I'll tell you what, yeah, you're playing your Super Bowl fantasy league, and you got to start Najee Davenport. Wow.
Yeah, and that's another reason why Week 17 is not that great to be playing in. Some other big names, too. Brandon Jacobs, listed as probable as last I saw on Yahoo, but they might rest him again.
There's no need to start him. I mean, he's got the knee situation. Let him rest a week. Brandon Ward's 52 or 53 yards away from 1,000 yards. I think the minute he gets his 1,000 yards, he'll sit. Then I think you'll see a lot of Ahmad Bradshaw.
Speaking of big-name running backs still, Brian Westbrook, probable. He's always on the list, so he's going to play. You got McFadden, though, questionable. Kevin Smith, questionable. Maurice Jones-Drew, questionable. Do you have him in your lineup this week, Mark?
Maurice Jones-Drew? Oh, boy, I tell you, I've messed with him all year. I never could pick the right week with him. I don't know if I do or not. I really don't. You mentioned Kevin Smith. There's an interesting deal with him. No, I'm sorry, not Thomas, but I'm talking about Pierre Thomas, someone else that I don't think you mentioned yet.
Yeah, he's questionable too.
Yeah, they're thinking that after pregame warm-ups they'll find out. But there are reports that he either dislocated or broke his wrist in the game last week. So that's why it'll be a game-time decision if he can swing playing with that or not. So be careful there with Pierre Thomas.
And they're in a game, though, that's not a need-win game. Saints are done, so he might be a risky play, too, this week. Lendell White, questionable this week. Steven Jackson, probable, and Marion Barber, questionable again this week.
Yeah, Marion Barber's another situation where I think he's kind of like after he warms up a game-time decision. But there's really not it's not a dire need for him to play the way Choice has played. And quite honestly, even before Barber hurt himself, I didn't think he played all that well for a number of weeks prior anyway.
Well, if you can, too, 529-1450 is our phone number if you need help fixing your roster this week. But Tashard Choice, if he's still out there, might not be a bad pickup. Much better than playing on Najee Davenport for your Super Bowl.
Yeah, Choice is a good option. And we mentioned before, Ahmed Bradshaw, I think, is a real good choice this week. There's a few guys out there. Cedric Benson. I can't stand Cedric Benson. But you know what? The guy has played well the last couple weeks. And if he's available and you need a running back, he's a good option.
What about any of the running backs for New England? They're in a must-win game. I know, we talk about them all year, but now it's crunch time. They're at Buffalo. They need to have some sort of a running game, I'd have to think.
No one ever knows the rotation of running backs in New England. 1 week, Sammy Morris gets, 15, 20 carries. Last week, everyone thought Morris was going to be a good play. And here comes Lamont Jordan, touchdown stealer, who he'd been on the DL, not playing for about 5 or 6 weeks, strolls in and steals the thunder there. Then once you think you got that figured out, not Marshall Faulk, boy.
Wow.
Next head coach of the Rams.
Let's try the other Faulk. And he'll come in and get a couple catches. You can't figure out the New England system, and that's why they're they've got good running backs, but they're impossible to play.
But you might as well throw one in. Who else are you gonna start? The third string guy from Jacksonville?
Yeah.
You might as well throw one of them in if you have.
Play if you got all three of them. Play all three. Play one on flex. I mean, it's just nuts. I think, and
know what? Down to 16 weeks.
And I think Belichick just loves doing that too. I think he just loves messing with minds out there.
Well, and we can bring this up to our commissioner too next year, Mark. This week 17, we've been doing it for 5-6 years now, and no one's ever happy with it.
No. Is it every year? I mean, is there ever?
It's every year, but I think now.
Week?
Well, I think now he's going to know because he's actually playing for the title game for the first time in those 6 years.
First time he's had success,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, usually he's the bomb 3, and he's finally played for the championship. So we'll see how this works out now for him.
Yeah, when his big guy's got to ride pine, then he might not like it.
It all of a sudden becomes not such a great idea.
Right. He didn't really realize what was going on before because he was never there. All right, here's our wide receiver injuries. There's a few of those, not a whole lot, but the biggest name, probably Anquan Bolden at questionable, and Bernard Berrien is questionable too.
Yeah, Bolden missed practice Friday, and that's never a good sign. Hopefully for the fantasy owners with Bolden, he'll play, but boy, you have to be real careful and get right to game time to see.
Chad Johnson questionable this week. Derek Mason questionable this week. Bunch of guys probable. Brandon Marshall should play. Hushmanzada should play. Eddie Royal should play. Coles, though, for once, not probable. He is listed questionable this week.
I tell you, they decided to change the moniker behind him. Instead of Mr. Probable, he's Mr. Questionable. But you watch, he'll play. Doesn't matter. Barnes can't gain the ball more than 20 yards downfield.
Ocho Cinco questionable. Anthony Gonzalez questionable. Calvin Johnson also popped up on the injury report, but he should play.
Yeah, he's got to play. He's the only way they can get in the end zone.
And what about Kevin Curtis, Donald Driver, and Greg Jennings?
All practiced and should start.
I did see late in the week, though, they weren't sure about Curtis. Is that a GTD, game time decision?
Says here, calf probable, practice again Friday and is expected to start. Good to go.